This happened a few months ago. I'm 33 and work as a freelance photographer. I like urban exploration. There is something about abandoned buildings that fascinates me. I decided to check out some old industrial sites near my town. They've been forgotten for years, but I thought they might still have something interesting to see. Each visit held its own surprises. I pulled up to the first building around noon. It was too quiet. A chill ran up my spine as I stepped inside. I checked my camera settings, hoping for something special. The walls were cracked, and I could hear broken glass crunch under my feet. As I walked deeper in, I heard a metal clanging, followed by dragging noises. My heart raced. I told myself it was just the building settling. But I felt uneasy. It seemed too cold for a summer day. I kept moving through the dark hallways. My footsteps echoed, and I spotted flickering lights in the distance. I thought it was just faulty wiring, but that flickering made me hesitate. Shadows moved at the edges of my vision. I felt like something was watching me. I pressed on, trying to shake the feeling. I snapped a few photos, hoping to capture something great. Later that night, I sat in my apartment going through the photos. A knot formed in my stomach. There were figures in the background of some pictures. I thought it was just my imagination, but I couldn't shake the dread. I told myself to stay calm. I thought I was just being silly. I returned to the building a few days later. I tried to rationalize what I'd seen before. I found strange things left behind: children's toys, old clothes. Who leaves that stuff behind? It didn't make sense. The air felt thick as I stepped through empty rooms. I took more pictures, but each click added to the strange weight of the place. When I got home, I flicked through the latest batch of photos. Each one felt wrong. I thought I saw movement in the corners. The shadows seemed to shift. I began to wonder if someone was in there with me. Was I falling for some elaborate prank? My mind raced with questions. On my last visit, I stood in the main hall. The cold air wrapped around me like a blanket. Then I heard it again. A faint whisper that chilled me to the bone. I turned quickly, but I was alone. Just before I left, I snapped another photo, desperate to know what I was dealing with. As I walked away, a feeling washed over me. I wasn't alone. I paused, looking back at the building. It stood silent, but I felt eyes on me. I couldn't explain it. But I knew I wouldn't be coming back. The shadows there were too alive. The whispers too real. I still think about it, and it still scares me. A few days after my last visit, I couldn't shake the memory of the building. I kept thinking about those shadows and whispers. I decided to do some digging. Maybe talking to someone who knew the place would help. I wasn't ready to give up on it completely. I went to the local library and started searching through old newspapers. I hoped to find anything about the building. As I searched, I stumbled upon an article from decades ago. It briefly mentioned a factory that had shut down due to a tragic accident. A worker had fallen into a machine and died. They said it was haunted by his spirit. I laughed it off, but an unsettling feeling crept over me. I met up with an old friend, Sam, who had always been interested in the supernatural. I told him about my experiences. His eyes lit up with excitement. "Sounds like a ghost hunt," he exclaimed. I hesitated. The last thing I wanted was to confirm any of my fears, but I didn't want to appear scared. "Maybe we could go back, just to see," he suggested. I didn't want to return, but curiosity got the better of me. We planned to go in the evening when darkness could add a layer of mystery. I felt a mix of dread and adrenaline. What was I thinking? That night, we arrived at the building just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The place loomed before us, shadows dancing in the fading light. I felt my heart pounding again. It looked different now, more menacing. We stepped inside, and the air felt even colder than before. As we moved through the dark hallways, my flashlight beam flickered. I gripped it tightly, trying to ignore the feeling of being watched. Sam started talking, trying to break the tension. What if we actually see him? The worker. Do you think he is really here? His excitement only made me more uneasy. We reached the main hall, where the whispers had haunted me before. Sam joked about hearing the ghost's voice, but I wasn't laughing. I scanned the room for something familiar. Then it happened. A loud crash echoed from the back of the hall. I jumped, and my heart raced. What was that? I asked, breathless. Sam looked just as startled. I don't know. Let us check it out, he replied, trying to sound brave. I shook my head but felt an invisible pull. I couldn't back down now. The sound had come from behind some old machinery. We crept closer, my flash illuminating dust and cobwebs. Then, without warning, it went pitch dark. The flashlight died. With a muffled panic, I fumbled for my backup light. Just then, I heard another whisper, clearer this time, a raspy voice that chilled me to the bone. Get out, it said. We froze. My breath quickened. I turned to Sam, but he was just as pale as I felt. Suddenly, a shape darted across my field of vision. I didn't have time to react. Only instinct kicked in. Run! I shouted, and we bolted for the exit. I had no idea what we had just encountered, but I knew we had unleashed something terrifying. As we stumbled out into the open air, I felt the weight of the shadows lift. But I knew it wasn't over. I could still hear that voice echoing in my mind. What had I gotten myself into? And why did I feel it was only the beginning? The next day, I avoided thinking about the building. I tried focusing on normal life, but something pulled at me. I couldn't shake the image of that shape darting through the darkness. I texted Sam, and we agreed to meet up. We needed to talk things over. We decided to grab coffee at a small cafe nearby. The bright lights and chatter felt comforting, but my mind kept drifting back. Do you think we saw a real ghost? I asked, half joking. Sam took a sip of his drink and shrugged. I don't know. But whatever it was, it wanted us to leave. I bit my lip, feeling the weight of his words. After a moment of silence, I asked, what do we do now? Should we go back? I watched his expression. He looked uncertain for a moment, then intrigued. Maybe we should gather more info first, he suggested. Let us reach out to people online. There must be others who have been there. They might know more about that place. We decided to start an online search while sitting at the cafe. I felt nervous but excited. I pulled out my phone and began looking for local ghost hunting groups. Soon, I found a thread about the building. It had a long list of stories, all chilling. Some people claimed to have seen figures in the windows. Others heard voices, just like we had. One comment caught my attention: if you go back, look for the lost tools. I squinted at the screen. What does that mean? Sam leaned in closer, his brows furrowing. Maybe the tools the worker was using when he died. They could be significant. A chill ran down my spine. I felt unease wash over me again. And what if they're still there? What if that's why it's haunted? We kept searching the thread, and that's when I saw it. A photo someone tagged from a recent visit. In the image, a rusted toolbox lay half buried in the floor's debris, right where we'd been. Sam! I exclaimed, pointing. That's it. That's south the place. He squinted at the image. If we find that toolbox, maybe we'll understand what's happening. Or at least we'll have something to take with us. I felt both fear and curiosity bubbling up inside me. What had we unleashed? I could only assume it was tied to that toolbox. It was as if we needed to go back, to face whatever darkness we disturbed. After we finished our coffee, we planned our return. I tried to suppress the worry creeping in. The sun began to set, and I felt a familiar tension rising. As we stepped outside, reality sank in. We were going back to that haunted place. When evening fell, we approached the building again. Everything felt heavier this time. I thought about the whispers and shadows. "We're really doing this, huh?" I said, trying to mask my fear. Sam nodded, determination in his eyes. We entered once more, my stomach churning. The darkness swallowed us immediately. As we moved deeper into the building, I felt the air shift. It was as if something was waiting for us. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly. We finally reached the main hall where everything went dark the last time. I remembered the toolbox from the photo and searched the ground. My hands grazed over dust and debris, and my heart raced. Just then, I heard that familiar whisper once again, this time layered with urgency. "Come closer." I froze, my breath hitching in my throat. Sam didn't seem to hear it. I pressed my lips together, fighting the urge to panic. I needed to know what waited for us in the shadows. I could feel the tension curl around me, thick and palpable. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something move. I turned slowly, my heart pounding. It was just a flicker, a shadow darting behind a broken wall. I opened my mouth to call out to Sam, but the words caught in my throat. My instincts screamed for me to leave. But curiosity held me there. "Did you see that?" I whispered, more afraid of the voice I could barely contain. Sam was still scanning the floor, oblivious to the presence I sensed growing in the darkness. I stepped closer to where I'd seen the movement. Guys who ghost hunt shouldn't scare easily, right? I tried to sound playful, but my voice trembled. Just then, a loud clatter echoed through the hall, making me jump. Sam jumped too and spun around to face me. "What was that?" he asked, eyes wide. I don't know." I felt the urge to run, but I couldn't let fear win. Curiosity gripped me as tightly as the chill in the air. We moved cautiously toward the sound. As we rounded a corner, the dark space opened into a small room shrouded in shadows. Broken furniture lay piled high, and scattered papers from some forgotten time fluttered in a breeze that shouldn't have existed. "Look!" I pointed at the floor. There, half obscured beneath an overturned chair, was the rusted toolbox from the photo. It looked more eerie in person, as if it had been waiting for us. "That's it. The lost tools." I stepped forward, my foot crunching on debris. I reached for the toolbox, feeling a strange warmth radiate from it despite the coldness of the space around us. Just as I touched it, a loud bang reverberated through the building, making the walls shudder. "Whoa!" Sam yelled, backing up. "Let us get out of here." "No," I said, holding my ground. "We need to see what's inside." With tentative fingers, I pried the toolbox open. Rust flaked off like thin skin, and inside lay an array of old tools: a hammer, chisels, a trowel. But what caught my eye was a small, weathered journal beneath them. It was peculiar, like it didn't belong with the rest of the items. "Sarah, please. We need to go." "This feels wrong," Sam urged, but I was already flipping through the pages, gasping at the scrawled notes. "They're sketches. And there are names." I trailed off as I turned to a page with a drawing of the building. My breath caught as I noticed the note beside it: "Don't return. They won't let you leave." That feeling of being watched intensified. Shadows danced in the corners of my vision. "Sam, I think we might be in trouble," I said. Just then, the whispers returned, crawling through the air like fingers. They weren't just distant echoes, they felt closer now, more insistent. "Leave now," they urged, and this time, a cold shiver ran down my spine. "What's happening?" Sam asked, fear etched across his face. No. I shouted into the darkness, both terrified and defiant. I felt drawn to the journal, a strange connection that thrummed through me. I have to know. Then, the toolbox slammed shut by an unseen force, and the whispers rose to a terrifying crescendo. I looked at Sam, and panic washed over both our faces. Everything around us shifted. The air grew thick, and the once familiar space seemed foreign and hostile. Suddenly, the building groaned, shaking violently. "Run!" I screamed, but something else felt trapped in my throat as the shadows twisted and closed in. We darted toward the exit, but I couldn't shake the feeling. It opened a door we may never be able to close. We dashed down the hallway, our footsteps echoing off the warped wooden floors. The shadows stretched and twisted around us, making it impossible to tell what was real and what was not. Every corner felt like it harbored a specter waiting to pounce. "Sarah, this way!" Sam called, motioning toward a door to our right. I barely recognized the voice. It sounded frantic, not like the Sam I knew. But I followed him, heart racing and mind reeling. We burst through the door and slammed it shut behind us, leaning against it as if we could hold back whatever was pursuing us. We were in a narrow alcove cluttered with old furniture and more dust than I'd ever seen. A single, cracked window let in slivers of dim light, illuminating motes of dust swirling in the air. "Where do we go now?" Sam gasped, his breathing heavy. I could see his fear mirrored in my own reflection in the glass-paned window. I glanced around. There has to be another way out. My eyes landed on a staircase that curled upward into darkness. We might be able to find a way to the roof. Get a signal out or something. "Are you insane?" Sam said, an edge of panic in his voice. "What if we're trapped up there?" The floor beneath us creaked ominously, and I felt a cold chill wrap around me again. "What choice do we have?" I countered, desperation clawing at my throat. Reluctantly, he nodded, and together we made our way toward the staircase. Each step felt heavy. The air shifted again, colder and thicker than before. I could hear the whispers more clearly now, as if they were swirling around us, inviting us to turn back. "Leave while you can," they murmured. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block out their insistent calls as we reached the first landing. At the top, the hallway stretched ahead, dimly lit by the light filtering through a series of small windows. My heart sank when I realized we weren't alone. A figure stood at the far end of the hall, partially concealed in shadow. I strained to see, but fear held me in place. "Who is that?" Sam whispered, voice barely above a breath. "I don't know," I answered, dread pooling in my stomach. Then the figure turned, and my blood ran cold. It was a man gaunt, pale, and dressed in tattered clothes. His eyes bore into us, hollow and haunting. "That's not possible," Sam breathed, stepping back. Suddenly, the man raised a hand. "You shouldn't have come here," he said. His voice echoed hollowly in the empty space. "You don't belong." My instinct was to turn and flee, but I was frozen, caught in his gaze. The walls around us seemed to pulse with his words, as if the building itself was alive, listening. "What do you mean?" I finally managed to croak, the trembling in my voice betraying my fear. "Leave now, while you still can," he warned, his gaze heavy with a sorrow I couldn't comprehend. "Before it's too late." And just like that, without another word, he took a step back into the shadows, disappearing like smoke into the darkness. "Sarah, we need to go. Now." Sam pulled at my arm, panic fueling his urgency. I finally shook off the trance and sprinted down the hallway, with Sam right beside me. We didn't look back, but I could feel the weight of the space pressing down on us. That's when I heard a low growl, echoing from behind. Something was chasing us. We ran. Breathless and desperate, we sprinted down the dimly lit hallway. My heart raced in sync with the growling noise behind us, a deep rumble that sent chills down my spine. It sounded too close, too real. "Don't stop!" Sam shouted, urging me onward. I didn't need encouragement. The fear coursing through me propelled my legs to move faster. We reached another door at the end of the hallway. My hands trembled as I fumbled for the handle. It turned with a creak, and we stumbled into what looked like an old conference room. The stench of mildew hit me like a wall. Dust particles danced in a thin beam of light filtering through the covered windows. "Look for a way out," I gasped, scanning the room. Tables lay overturned, their surfaces littered with ancient papers and remnants of shattered glass. I spotted a set of double doors on the far side. There. We sprinted across the room, but I felt something shift in the air, a weight pressing down on us. The growl grew louder, and my instincts kicked in. I knew whatever it was, it wouldn't stop until it caught us. "Sarah, hurry!" Sam urged, panic weaving through his voice as he pushed open one of the double doors. I hesitated just a moment before bursting through. We emerged in a dim corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly. Old photographs lined the walls, their subjects staring blankly into space. I caught glimpses of faces familiar, yet distorted. It felt like they were watching us, judging us. "Which way?" I asked, dizzying confusion sweeping over me. "Right!" Sam shouted, grabbing my hand and pulling me along. Each step felt heavier, as if the very ground was trying to prevent our escape. Then, I saw it again. The man from before, his gaunt figure appearing in front of us at the end of the hall. "Stop!" he commanded, eyes wide with a warning. "No!" I yelled, trying to move past him, but he raised his hand, and the air around him pulsed with an unholy force. "Stop or you'll regret it." His voice reverberated through the corridor. "What do you want from us?" I shouted back, the fight rising in my chest. "Leave now," he repeated, his tone urgent. Suddenly, the growl erupted again, closer this time. I could feel its heat on my neck, like a predator ready to strike. "Move!" Sam yelled, yanking me forward, away from the apparition. We tugged past the man, who seemed to fade, losing solidity. I glanced back just as he mouthed one final word, "Fool." We dashed down the hall, barely registering the fly-specked wallpaper peeling away as we passed. But then everything changed. The growling stopped, replaced by a heavy silence that crushed down around us. "That's weird," I muttered, trying to catch my breath. "No time," Sam said urgently. "Keep going." We stumbled upon a staircase that spiraled downward, the air growing colder with each step. Just as we were about to descend, I felt something grip my ankle. I looked down to see a rotten hand skeletal, claw-like, pulling me toward the ground. "Sarah!" Sam shouted. I fought desperately, wrenching my leg free. But the hand held tight, ripping at my shoe. I screamed and kicked, adrenaline fueling my movements. "Let go of her." Sam lunged back, his eyes wild. I could see his fear reflected in mine, but there was no time to waste. I finally broke free, tumbling down the last few steps. Sam quickly followed, but I fell into darkness. Then everything went black. I awoke on a cold, hard surface, the air heavy with dampness. My head throbbed. I blinked slowly, shadows swirling around me. Where was I? I pushed myself up, groaning as my joints protested. I was in a cramped, dim room, the walls lined with cinder blocks. The faint glow of a single flickering bulb overhead cast eerie shapes that danced across the floor. I could hear the distant sound of dripping water somewhere nearby. "Sam!" I called, my voice trembling. Panic crept in as silence answered me. I pushed myself up fully, anxiety clawing at my throat. "Sam!" Nothing. I crawled to the nearest wall, pressing my back against it. I couldn't stay here. I needed to find him. I stood, swaying slightly, and took a step forward, the floor gritty beneath my feet. A broken chair lay in the corner, and a table was overturned, as if someone had fled in a hurry. "Sam!" I shouted again, my voice echoing in the confined space. The silence felt suffocating, more oppressive than before. I needed to breathe. I searched for a door, anywhere to escape. Then I heard a low sound in the dark. A hiss, followed by an unsettling silence. My heart raced. I turned quickly, straining to see through the shadows. Nothing but the dull, fading light. I took another step. My foot caught on something. I stumbled forward, catching myself just before falling. I glanced down to see a small, battered box. I knelt to inspect it. Just as I was about to pry it open, an unsettling awareness washed over me. "Sarah," a voice whispered, barely audible, yet so close it sent shivers through my spine. The sound was different, it chilled me more than the air. It was neither Sam nor the growling presence we had escaped. "Who is there?" I called, my voice shaky but stronger than I felt. "Nothing." I hesitated, the box forgotten, dread creeping in. The whisper came again. "Sarah," it almost felt familiar, as if it called out from the depths of my own memory. "Sam!" I yelled, panic bubbling as I pushed myself back up. I needed to move. I found the door, a heavy steel slab at the far end of the room, rusted and slightly ajar. I approached it cautiously. As I reached for the handle, the whisper returned, clearer now, wrapping around me like a cocoon. "Leave or join us, Sarah," it beckoned. My breath caught. I froze, staring at the door, suddenly aware of the choice laid out before me. I shook my head vigorously, forcing myself to focus. I couldn't give in. I flung the door open, expecting more darkness beyond, but a blinding light surged through, illuminating the hallway. I peered into the bright space, blinking against the glare. That's when I saw it, a silhouette emerging from the end of the hallway. "Sam." The figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face, but something felt wrong. His eyes were wide, terror etched on his features. "Run!" he shouted, his voice echoing, layered with desperation. I barely registered his words when an unbearable roar erupted from within the shadows behind him, slamming through the silence. The ominous growl returned, louder than ever, and I felt its cold breath on my back. I didn't have time to think. I sprinted towards him, my heart pounding, but whatever lurked behind was again drawing nearer. The chase wasn't over. I bolted down the hallway, desperation propelling me forward. As I reached Sam, I could see the panic in his eyes. "What is happening?" I gasped, my breath coming in shallow bursts. He grabbed my arm, his grip like iron. "There is no time, we have to go." His voice was shaky, but determined. The growl from the shadows surged again, shaking the air around us. I didn't need to be told twice. Together, we turned and ran. The light from the bulb behind me flickered, casting long shadows that danced crazily along the walls. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was right on my heels. "Where are we?" I shouted, trying to be heard over the pounding of my heart and the thundering footsteps echoing behind us. "I don't know." He yelled back, his eyes darting around, searching for an exit. "I just woke up here, too. We need to find a way out." We reached a junction in the hallway. One path stretched to the left, dim and uncertain, while the other led to a closed door. It was a decision I didn't want to make. Behind us, the growl roared louder, drowning out every rational thought. "Left!" he shouted, dragging me towards the uncertainty. I hesitated, glancing back just in time to see something dark and hulking slip into view, slinking toward us. The outlines of its limbs shifted unnaturally. I swallowed hard. "Maybe the door go." Sam pushed, his urgency snapping me back to reality. The left corridor was narrow and claustrophobic, but we had no choice. We sprinted down, and just as I thought we were safe, I heard a loud thud behind us. Sam turned, eyes wide. "It's coming." I also turned, and my stomach dropped. The creature had emerged fully from the shadows, more monstrous than I imagined, an amorphous mass with glowing eyes, like two coals on a cold, dark night. It moved closer, contorting in ways that sent shivers down my spine. "Keep moving," I yelled, pulling Sam as we raced deeper into the corridor. The walls seemed to close in, pressing against my back, but I pushed through the wave of terror gripping my chest. "Where's the exit?" Sam panted, sweat glistening on his forehead. "I don't know," I shouted, desperation flaring. "Just keep going." Then, through the haze of adrenaline and fear, I caught sight of something up ahead, a set of double doors at the end of the corridor, slight daylight spilling from the bottom edge. "Over there." I pointed, my voice filled with renewed hope. We barreled toward the door, but suddenly it burst open, revealing a dark figure with a haunting smile. A woman with wild hair and a tattered dress stepped forward, her movements jerky and disjointed. I felt a chill race down my spine. "Join us, Sarah," she crooned softly, her voice laced with false sweetness. "What?" I gasped, eyes wide. "Leave this place. You can be one of us." I stumbled back, clinging to Sam. The creature roared again behind us, and I could see it now looming closer. "Run!" I urged Sam again, but something held me in place, compelling me toward the woman. My heart raced with conflicting emotions. "Sarah!" Sam shouted, but I was overwhelmed. Her gaze felt like a pull, drawing me away from the horrific creature and back toward a darkness I didn't understand. In that moment, everything went dark as the shadows stretched out around me, and I felt myself being drawn into the void. I gasped as the darkness enveloped me. There was no air, just an all-consuming void, its chilling silence pressing against my senses. I couldn't tell up from down, or which way was forward. Panic clawed at my throat, and instinct kicked in. I struggled against the nothingness, desperate to find an escape. Then, just like that, the darkness shattered. I tumbled onto a cold floor, landing hard on my hands and knees. Pain shot through my palms as I looked around. I was in a room dimly lit by flickering fluorescent lights, ceilings high and walls lined with peeling paint. My heart raced, not just from the fall, but from fear. I was alone. "Sam!" I called, but the sound echoed back, mocking me. My only answer was the electricity buzzing above, a haunting reminder of where I found myself. I stood, brushing dirt from my knees, and began to explore. The room was an odd mixture of decay and strange artifacts. Broken furniture was strewn about, and in the corner stood a marred mirror, its glass cracked but somehow still reflecting a flicker of light. I approached it, and I could see my own terrified expression staring back. As I examined the mirror, I felt a shiver run through me. Something wasn't right. My reflection flickered, and for a split second, I saw someone else standing behind me. I spun around, my heart thundering, but there was only silence. Just the empty room and my racing thoughts. I stepped back cautiously, feeling the draw of the mirror again, the urge to reach toward it. Just then, I heard a noise, a faint rustling from somewhere beyond the room. My curiosity piqued, I moved slowly toward the sound, holding my breath. The door on the far side of the room creaked open. I stilled, eyes wide, as a figure slipped inside. It was a girl, maybe my age, with wide eyes and wild hair, similar to the woman I'd seen before. Her clothes were ragged, and a hint of a grin danced across her lips. "Sarah, you came. I knew you would find us," she said, her voice oddly sing-song, like she was sharing a secret. "Who are you?" I stuttered, unease flooding through me. "Where's Sam?" "Sam." Her smile dropped, her eyes narrowing. "He's not important. You're here now, and you can join us." I took a step back, heart racing. This wasn't happening. This girl was another trap. I have to find him. I snapped, fear boiling into anger. You can't keep me here. She tilted her head, studying me. It's too late for that, Sarah. You chose to step through the mirror. My breath hitched at her words. Chose? I didn't choose anything. As if in answer, shadows began to creep along the walls, pooling around my feet, inching closer. The frantic growl echoed again, now mixed with soft whispers unintelligible yet unsettling. Then, in a blink, the girl lunged at me, faster than I could react. I dove aside, barely escaping her grasp, but the dark figures were flooding in from the corners. I bolted for the door, adrenaline spurring me on, fueled by desperation. Sam! I need to find Sam. Just as I reached the doorway, the girl's laughter followed me, a chilling sound that echoed in my mind. You can't escape, Sarah. You're already one of us. I stumbled into the corridor beyond, confusion and dread boiling inside me. I had to find Sam, but now the shadows enveloped me once again, pulling me deeper into their grasp. And as I ran, I felt the air shift around me. I was not alone. As I fled down the corridor, the whispers grew louder, wrapping around me like 1,000 tiny fingers. My heart raced as I turned left, trying to remember the way back to Sam. Each shadow felt like a threat, stalking me down the dimly lit passage. I pressed on, desperation propelling me forward, but the thick air weighed me down. Sam! I shouted again, my voice echoing in the darkness, barely recognizable against the chorus of whispers. Where are you? Suddenly, a flicker of light caught my eye, spilling from a door slightly ajar to my left. Hope surged through me. I rushed toward it, throwing the door open widely. Inside was a large storeroom, cluttered with debris and old machinery. My pulse quickened as I picked my way through the remnants of a long-abandoned operation. Sarah. That voice, the familiar timbre, sent a warm rush through my veins. It was Sam. I turned to face the sound. There he was, sitting against the wall, his face gaunt and shadowed in the flickering light. Relief flooded over me, but it was short-lived. We need to get out of here, he said, pushing himself up. His eyes darted around nervously, making the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Did you see her? Who? I breathed, my heart racing anew. Her, he murmured, motioning to a corner. I turned slowly, dread pooling in my gut. In the shadows, the figure of the girl emerged, her wild hair floating around her in an unearthly way. I felt the breath catch in my throat. Sarah, run! Sam shouted, breaking my trance. Adrenaline surged, and I bolted back out into the hallway, but the girl blocked the way next to me. She swayed slightly, her grin warped and knowing. You can't run from us. You chose this place. You belong here now. No. I screamed, my voice raw. I don't belong to anyone. With a burst of desperation, I pushed past her, back toward Sam. I could hear the growl from the shadows behind me, echoing ominously, urging me to move faster. We dashed down the hall, heartbeats pounding in sync. We just need to find a way out, I gasped, there has to be a door. Let us try this way. Sam pointed at a stark door framed in an even paler light. We pounded toward it, desperate to escape this nightmarish maze. Just as I reached for the handle, the growl thundered again from behind us, and the shadows lunged forth, freezing me in place. Come on. Sam tugged at my arm, pulling me toward the door. I could hardly breathe as fear surged through me. We burst through the door, landing in a long, open space filled with rusted machinery. A massive, cracked window on the far wall let in slivers of light, illuminating a pathway. Over there. Sam shouted, and together we raced towards it, the growling echoing louder, closer, more urgent. Please, no. I shouted, my legs pumping faster, but fingers brushed my ankle again, this time a familiar grip not from the shadows, but a cold touch, the girl again, her skeletal form illuminated by the streaming light. "Join us, Sarah," she sang, her voice harmonious yet chilling. "Let go." I kicked at her desperately, feeling the bile rise in my throat. "Sam, we have to go now." With a jarring force, I broke free, stumbling toward the window without a glance back. Sam grabbed my arm, yanking me up a set of broken crates leading to the window frame. "Climb," he urged, urgency pushing us both forward. We scrambled up, heartbeats racing as we reached the sill. Behind us, the growl intensified, a cacophony of otherworldly sounds clustering together. "We're almost there," Sam grunted, helping pull me up as I tumbled through the window. Just as I landed on solid ground, I turned to help him up. "Now!" I yelled. As he leapt through, I noticed the girl behind him, eyes wide and dark, an expression of betrayal flooding her distorted features. "You can't escape," she cried, but was cut off by the frame of the window crashing shut behind Sam. We landed hard on the pavement outside, gasping for breath. The moonlight bathed the area, illuminating the once menacing building behind us. As we rolled to our feet, we found ourselves breathless, almost euphoric to be out of the suffocating darkness. "We made it!" Sam exclaimed, eyes wide. But as I glanced back at the building, warmth left my body. I still felt them, the shadows pressing against the walls, swirling like a living entity, watching from the cracks. Did we really get out? I whispered, more to myself. Or are they still inside us? I shook my head, trying to clear the memory of the girl the way she called out to me, like a lover lost, and my heart thudded painfully. "Let South leave this place," Sam said, his voice trembling. I nodded, but as we walked away, thoughts echoed in my mind. What had we really encountered in there? What had I awakened? I felt a chill crawl up my spine as we disappeared into the night, never knowing if we had truly escaped or if something had come with us. I could still hear the whispers, soft and lingering, dancing at the edges of my mind. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if the girl still waits in the shadows, if the whispers call for me still. But mostly, I try not to think about it.